Hi, budget friends. Follow along as I share a tutorial on how to create your own net worth spreadsheet in Excel. There will be a timestamp to each part of the process in the description below, so feel free to jump around to whatever section you want to watch. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content. Thank you for watching. The first thing that I like to do when creating a spreadsheet is to map out all of my cells, and it's going to look something like this. So I have a blank spreadsheet here, and I like to fill in the entire page. So what I'm going to do is leave all of the rows exactly as they are, and I'm going to move the columns around so that they fit the needs of what I'm trying to create here. I also like to have kind of a border around my spreadsheets and what I'm doing. So I'm going to be taking from cell B2. I'm going to hold my mouse down and I'm going to go all the way down to P37. A and Q, 1 and 38 are kind of going to be my borders. So with all of those cells highlighted, I'm going to go into my borders. I'm going to select this kind of medium thick border, a dark purple, and I'm going to do the entire outline in this border. I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see that's actually the outline of my spreadsheet. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to spread things out a little bit. I'm going to click on column A. By clicking on the letter A, I'm going to hold my control key down and I'm going to also click on Q. And I've already mapped this out. So I'm going to change the cell widths to exactly what I know I need them to be. So I'm going to change those two to 9.43, and you can see the width is showing up there. So I'm going to modify those, and I'm going to select B. I'm going to hold my control key down and select G, I, K, L, N, and P. And again, I've already done this, so I know what I need it to be, and I'm going to change this to shrink them down to 2.71. And I need these four, H, J, M, and O, to be the same width. So I'm going to click H and hold my control key down and select those four, H, J, M, and O. And I'm going to extend the width of these to be 34.57. And the only reason I know this is because this is what fits my screen. Your screen might be a little bit different, so you might have to play around with the widths once we've got everything kind of mapped out, and you may just want to adjust, shrink things down, or extend them a little bit. So now C, D, E, and F are going to be where my accounts and balances are. So I want C alone because that's going to be some numbers. I don't need it to be very wide, but I need it to be right there, 757. D is going to be pretty wide because that's going to be where all of my account names are going to be. And that is going to be 32. And then D and F are going to be the same width. And those, E and F, and those are going to be 19.86. Now, when I first mapped this out, I just played around with it a little bit. But as you can see here, A and Q are on the outer edges, and they're sort of my border. And then I also have 1 and 38 are sort of also borders. And then I've got B and P, as well as 2 and 37 are also kind of going to be borders for me. So as I mentioned before, these four columns are going to be where my numbers, accounts, account type, and balances are. So I'm going to create a border for these, and I want them to be those 4 across and 4 down. And I'm going to click my borders. I'm going to do the same color. And you can pick whatever colors you want, but this is just what worked for me. So that created a box there. And I'm going to have a title that goes all the way across and have it say your name, whatever it is that you want it to say. I'm going to do more borders, purple outline, and that was also 4 down. So these are evenly aligned. Now I'm going to select 2 rows and I'm going to go all the way 4 across. And this is going to be where my headers are for my table that I'm going to create in a little bit. So I want that to be bordered as well. And now my borders are already showing up because it's touching another border. So I'm just going to select those 3 to match that up. I'm going to select all of these cells 4 across all the way down, except for the last row here. This is going to be where all of my accounts are listed. Okay, so that's my box for all of my accounts and balances. And now here is where I'm going to have my net worth, the assets, and the 4 categories, the liabilities, and the 4 categories. So it's going to look something like this. So I had 4 down for this. That went across. I'm going to leave a space because that's going to be my border. And I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells. And I'm going to go to this middle between K and L here, and I'm going to create a border around that. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to go to the middle between K and L, and I'm going to create a border. Now, sometimes this ends up being a little bit of playing around, but you end up getting the idea more and more after you do more and more of these. So I'm actually going to do a Control C to copy that and Control V to paste because that's the exact same border that I want as this one. They're even. Then I'm going to skip another row. Actually, I'm going to start down here at the bottom because I want to make sure that I have enough room. So I believe this is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to do a border. And then I want 2 for my title for that border. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to Control C and I'm going to copy this in all of these across. And then I'm going to count, I'm going to space, have a space, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. I'm going to click here, which is row 22, H22, and I'm going to do Control V across these. And then I'm going to have a space here and a space here, and I'm going to do another border. This one is going to go until this side of I. So I'm going to add a border here. And that is going to be for my assets. And then I'm going to include I and I'm going to go across. I'm going to leave these 2 blanks. So this is all the way down. And I'm going to do another border here. And then I'm going to copy, select, so that's these 2. I want the exact same thing here. So I'm going to select that, Control C. I'm going to select this cell right here, Control V, and that is going to be my mapped out cell layout. Okay, so now that we have everything all mapped out, now I want to clean it up. I don't necessarily want to see all of these grid lines, and these are all individual cells, which I don't need them to be individual cells. So the first thing that I'm going to do is merge and center all of these cells the way that I basically have them boxed out. So the first one that I'm going to do is this here. I'm going to select all of the cells within that border and I'm going to click merge and center. And now you can see there are no more cells. It's one big cell. These are still all individual and I'm going to leave them as individual. I'm leaving these individual right now as well. This is going to be one big merged cell because I want that to say my title. So I'm clicking merge and center there. This is all going to be merged and centered. This one as well, because this is going to be my net worth and this is going to be a dollar amount. This one is going to say assets and this one's going to be the asset dollar amount. This one is going to be my liabilities and this one is going to be my liability dollar amount. And you notice that I included that small column as well because I want everything to be grouped in. It needs to be one big cell. These two rows are going to be merged and centered, and then these 5 are going to be merged and center. And I'm going to actually do a Control C and Control V, and going to just copy and paste all those so I don't have to do anything special. So now it looks pretty clean, but I still don't like these grid lines that go all the way around. So I'm going to go into View and I'm going to unselect grid lines. So now it just turns it all off and now it looks nice and clean. Okay, so the next part is sort of a fun part where the spreadsheet starts to kind of come to life. So we're going to do a couple of settings first, and then we'll start going through. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to select this corner here to select the entire spreadsheet because I want everything to be centered both in the column and also centered in the row. And then I'm going to shrink it down to 10. Now that just changed everything, but we're going to wait a minute until everything is entered and then we'll adjust the rows again. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want to change the font. I'm going to scroll down to Century Gothic. And I'm going to select everything inside the outside border. And I'm going to fill all of those in with this light gray. So now that everything is selected, I'm going to go into this cell here and I'm going to type in, I'm going to hit my cap lock so that everything is capital letters. And I'm going to type in accounts and balances. Okay, so that's really tiny. So I'm going to change that font to be 24. And I'm going to change the background of this to this dark blue right here. And I'm going to change the font color so you can see it better to that same column of blue. I'm going to go with the absolute lightest. I'm going to select all of the boxes that I want in that same color combination. So the title is going to be the same. I'm going to hold my control key down and I want this one, which is going to say net worth, assets, liabilities, and then each one of these titles is going to also have the exact same background. So I'm going to select this background and then select the font color. So now they're all the same. So when I type in them, you'll be able to see um, each one has the same colors. So now I want this. I've selected my overall title, and that's going to say Personal Finance Overview. And I'm going to change this to be 36 for the font size because I want it to be nice and big. These both and these all of these are going to be the same size font. So I'm going to select those. I'm going to hold my control key down and select these. And I want these to all be 28. And then I'm going to hold my control key down and I want all of these to be the same. And they're all going to be the same font size at 18. And then over here, I want these to be 12. Now I selected everything else is 10, so that's fine. Next, what I want to do before I fill all of those in is I want these to be back to the same height so that it fills up my screen again. I'm not exactly sure what it needs to be, so I'm going to just inch it a tiny bit to 15. It was 15 and now that looks good. So now I have my border back again. So I am liking the way this looks. Now this is going to say net worth and this is going to say assets and liabilities. This one's going to say cash, savings, investments, and property. This is going to say loans, debts, taxes, and collections. And those are the categories that I like. Pretty much everything falls under these categories. These are asset categories, there's 4 of them, and these are liability categories. There's also 4 of them. So it makes it nice and easy. I'm going to take this net worth and I actually don't want it centered because I might put something there later. So I'm going to adjust it so that it's adjusted to the right. But I want it to go over a little bit because I don't want it to be completely all the way over. Okay, now this, I want it to be a hashtag. Oh, also, I think I want all of these that are in this gray color to be the same. I want the font and the background to be the same. So I'm going to change these are all going to be this light blue. It's going to be pretty much the opposite. So the background now is the light blue and the font is now this darker blue. Actually, I want the font to be the absolute furthest dark blue. So almost exactly the opposite. And okay, so this is just for the number sign or pound sign or hashtag showing my age. I am middle-aged, but that's what we used to call it. We used to call it the pound sign. This is going to say, oops, account. This is going to say type, and this is going to say balance. Now, the balance is going to be a currency. So I'm going to select all of those. And all of these boxes in this light blue are also going to be in a currency. So I'm going to need to change all of these. Selected all of those. And I'm going to change this to currency. So you'll see if I type something in there, it's going to have a dollar sign with the decimal point and the proper currency type. So I'm just going to delete that. And now everything is set up with its proper titles, fonts, and colors. Next, we have to add a table and pull down menu for the account and balance section. So I'm going to highlight this entire box, and the first row with the titles, that's going to be my headers. And with all of that selected, I'm going to click Insert Table. And this window pops up, and it shows what's selected, and I want to make sure that I check my table has headers. So this is what the headers are. So with that checked, I'm going to say okay. And it just changed the layout, which I don't want these lines. I want it to be back to, and it also changed the font and everything. So I want it to be back to the way it was. So I'm just going to scroll up, and I'm going to select this here, which is none. So it doesn't have a table style. It is back to the original style that I had selected for it. So now this is a table. And I'm going to put some numbers in this column right here. And I'm going to pull that down until the second to last row, because I don't want the settings that I created make any changes. So I just added that last number. So there's 28 accounts that you can fill in on this spreadsheet. And the next thing that I need to do is I need to add a pull down menu for this type column. So to do a pull down menu, I'm going to select the entire column, and I'm going to click data, and I'm going to click data validation, and again, data validation. I'm going to select list because I want a pull down menu for the type that includes these 8 categories, so that when I put in my account name and I select a type, based on the type that I select, I want these dollar amounts to automatically populate the balance. So I'll show you that in a little bit. So I want to make sure that my data validation is set to list. And then under source here, I'm going to type in all of these 8 category names, and I am going to be very careful to spell them correctly. And I'm going to put a comma in between each of the words. And I'm going to hit OK. And so now this little arrow popped up, and when I click it, you have the pull down menu, and that's for every single one of the rows in this column. Every single one of them is going to have this pull down menu. So I can select whatever account type it is. I can select in this column here. And based on that, when I do the formula later, whatever I select here is going to filter and automatically populate into the correct category. Now we're going to add in the formulas. The first formula that we're going to add is the net worth. So net worth is going to be a simple formula. It's a sum formula that's going to add up the assets and the liabilities. So the way that we do that, we can click into the formula bar and we're going to do equals, and we're going to type sum, and we're going to do a parentheses. We're going to select this box for assets, and it pops up here with a comma. Select this box because it's going to add these two up. Select end parentheses and hit enter. And it has just populated $0 because nothing has been entered into these. Now, assets is going to be adding these four categories. So the way to do that one, we're going to do a very similar formula. We're going to do equals sum parentheses. We're going to click cash. We're going to hit a plus sign. We're going to select the savings box, hit plus. We're going to click on investments, hit plus, and we're going to click on property. And then we're going to close the parentheses and hit enter. I'm going to take this box, I'm going to control copy, and I'm going to control paste. So that's control C and control V. And if I double click here, you're going to see that my formula has moved all of the boxes over itself because Excel does that on its own. There are ways to avoid that if you need to make sure that these boxes are the ones that are always going to be selected. But in this case, this is exactly what we want it to do. So just by copying and pasting over into this box, I now have the formula for the liabilities that's adding up these four categories. So these are complete. Next, these four boxes are going to have the same formula. It's a little bit of a different formula. It is going to start off the same. We're going to do, it's basically like a sentence. So the sum is going to be adding, and then we're going to do an if. So equals sum. We're going to do a parentheses, and we're going to say if, and another parentheses. So if this column here equals this here, and then we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to select this column here. We're going to do a closed parentheses and a second closed parentheses. So basically what this is saying is we're going to add up the sum if everything in this column equals cash. So basically, let's say this is selected as cash. So this matches this. So in this column, if this matches this, then we're going to add up whatever's in this column. So I'm going to hit enter. Right now it says 0, but if I type in $8,000 in this column of cash, $8,000 is automatically populating. And because I added this up to add these up, this is showing $8,000. And because I calculated this to add up these, it's also showing $8,000. So that's how that works. Now, this is specifically calling out if it equals cash in this column, then we're going to add it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control C and I'm going to Control V, And now you can see here, it's 0. It's the same formula, but now when I double click, I'm basically saying add up the sum if this column matches this category, then add this column up. So I am just by copying, changing the formula so that it's adding up whatever category is written up here. So the reason why earlier when I was creating this pull down menu, I was saying that I really need to make sure that I'm careful with my spelling is because if this is spelled wrong or this is spelled wrong, it's not going to match up and it's not going to add up. So I'm going to just put in, let's say this is going to be savings and I put in $200, then that's accurate. But let's say I spell this without the S. So it's no longer matching up. So if I put that S back in, it matches up. So that's why this is very important to make sure the spelling is correct. So now I'm going to do a Control C and a Control V for these. And then this is the exact same formula. So I'm going to copy it, except there is one difference. So the difference is I want these to be, because they're liabilities, I want them to be a negative amount. I don't want to type in a negative dollar amount in my balance. I just want to, let's say I have a credit card debt. I don't want to have to remember, oh, my credit card balance, I need to type it in as a negative. I just want to type in the balance. So let's say I have a $5,000 balance in a credit card. Okay. So if I have a $5,000 balance in a credit card, I want it to be a negative. So I'm going to click up here in this formula, or I could double click in here, either way. So I'm clicking up in here and I'm going to put a minus sign in front of that. And then I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to do a Control C and a Control V. And you can see that my debt, which I put in here, it's a positive number here, which is just my balance, but it's showing up as a negative amount, which is exactly what I want. And then it's showing up here in my liabilities as a negative, which is what I want. And then in my net worth, this comma is basically adding these two boxes. So when I'm adding the sum of these two, it's technically taking this minus this because I have a negative. So a positive plus a negative is subtracting. So that's how that is, how that works. So now if I fill some of these in, let's say I have an investment, I'm just going to put some random numbers in here. All of these are going to populate. I want to have one of each of the categories. So I have cash. Let's do savings. Let's do investments. And let's say property, loans. I'm just going in order. Debts and taxes and collections. Let's make sure that they all populate. So everything is adding up. Now to make things pop a little bit, we're going to add some conditional formatting. So in order to add some conditional formatting, I'm going to select all of my categories, assets, and my net worth, all of those boxes, because they're going to all have the same conditional formatting. So I'm going to go into Home, and under Conditional Formatting, I'm going to click Manage Rules, and I'm going to do a new rule. I'm going to format only cells that contain the cell value is greater than 0. So any of these cell values that are greater than 0, that's a positive number. I want to format that so that it shows up in green. So I'm going to click Fill, and I'm going to click this green button here. You can select whatever color that you want. That's the only thing that I'm going to change. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. And so now everything that is greater than 0 is going to show up in green. And so you can see here, anything that's a positive number has now changed to green. So now I'm going to reselect these by holding my Control key, and I want another conditional format rules. But Manage Rule, I'm going to do a new rule. Format only cells that contain a cell value that is less than 0. I want these to show up in red. Now, this is a little bit too pink for me. So I'm going to click More Colors, and I'm going to go to Standard. And I think I'm going to select this kind of peachy. Yeah, I think I'm going to select this kind of peachy pink. I'm going to hit OK. And that is more of what I would rather it be. So that's going to be anything less than 0. So now everything greater than 0 is going to be in a green background, and anything less than 0 is going to be in this peachy background. I'm going to click OK. And what happens when it is exactly 0? So let's take one of these guys, and let's do loans is 0, and it goes back to our main blue color. So now your net worth dashboard is complete. You can stop here, collect all of your accounts and your balances. And I'm going to put some examples here. These are some account and pretend balances as examples for some different types of accounts that you might have and might want to include. I've categorized them all based on their type. So some different cash accounts that you might want to include are a checking account, physical cash, money market. Different types of savings accounts might include your standard savings account, a sinking fund, a holiday fund, and an emergency fund. These are different types of investments, which might include a CD, a 401k or retirement account, stocks, pension, life insurance, and some different property values that you might want to include. Might be a home value, a car value, jewelry or antiques, or art that you have that has some value, land value, etc. Some different types of loans that you might want to include might be a mortgage, a car loan or a lease, a student loan or a personal loan, and different types of debts that you might have that you would want to include might be a credit card, a store card, an IOU to a family member or a friend, and then different types of taxes that you might want to include might be property tax or business tax that you might owe. In addition, you might have some collections, and that might include medical debt, or an unpaid utility bill. These are just some examples of different types of accounts and balances that you might want to include to calculate your total net worth. Part of the reason why I ended up creating this section to be a table is so that you can sort without disturbing any of the calculations. You can sort these categories. So, for example, you might want to, for whatever reason, sort your accounts by alphabetical order, or you might want to sort your balances by the smallest balance to the largest balance. You might want to sort your categories by different type, and then you might want to sort back in order your accounts. And when you do this, you can see that nothing changes in the net worth calculations. So you can create this on your own and fill it in and update your net worth so that you can understand where you are. And if you have any interest, keep watching. I have some advanced charts that I'm going to share with you. You can use this spreadsheet exactly as it is, but if you want to add some visuals and a couple of charts, I'll show you that now. The first thing that I need to do is I need to create a little bit of space. I'm going to put my charts over here. So I'm going to select a number of these border columns, and I'm going to shrink them down quite a bit because I'm going to try and make some space here. And I think I just need 4 additional columns. I'm going to shrink these down by double clicking each of these. I don't want that one to be too tight. I'm going to make sure that I have enough room for my numbers. And I'm going to grab these and shrink these down a little bit as well. So this is going to be where I put my dates, because I want a visual of how I'm doing for the entire year. So January through December. This column is going to include the assets for January through December. This one's going to be the liabilities for those months. And then this one is going to total up the net worth for those months. And I need a little bit of room for those. So I'm going to have a date here, let's say 2024. And I'm going to type in January and February. I don't want to type out the entire month. I'm just going to do the first 3 letters, and then I'm going to grab this little box here after I highlight these, and I'm going to drag this down until December. And I'm going to create a border around these. So this is going to be assets, liabilities, and I need this in order to make some charts. And this is going to say net worth. Okay. And I want these to be a little bit wider. Okay, there we go. Now I want a little bit of a border here, so I'm going to shrink column C up a little bit. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to take this entire section and I'm going to put a border around it so that everything is nice and neat. I'm going to do the same border that I did for my entire spreadsheet. Okay, that looks good. And then I want to fill it in with the same colors that I had here so that it's sort of, it mimics. And then I made up some numbers. So I'm actually going to grab these here and I'm going to, this one I have some borders around it. So I'm just going to copy and paste this entire thing. Okay, so there we go. Now, these are all made up numbers. I'm pretending that my assets in January were filled in. So, what I would normally do is in January, the last day of each month. So, the last day of January, I would type in whatever this asset number is, I would type it in here. And then whatever this liabilities number is, I would type it in here. These have to be manually input because these numbers change. And um, if you do a formula, then you would never have the months. It would just only be the current status of your net worth. So these are all typed in manually. But this net worth column, you can do a formula. And this formula is essentially, I'll type it out for you. This formula would be equals sum and then a parentheses, and then I will click assets and then type in minus and then click liabilities and then close my parentheses and hit enter. And then that is the same formula for all of these. So I just grabbed that and I brought it down. Okay. So that is this sort of an overview throughout the months. And I liked that this said 2024. So I'm going to leave that back in. That way I know exactly what year I'm looking at. If I have multiple spreadsheets, then this will give me a clue on what year I'm in. So I'm going to take this. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to create a space and I'm going to do a border for my chart. So my chart is going to live in this little section right here. And there we go. Okay, so my chart is going to be in there. So to create a chart, I'm going to do a bar chart. I'm going to highlight what I want to be included in this chart. So I've just highlighted my my dates, my assets, my liabilities, and all the numbers. And I'm going to click on Insert. And I'm going to click on Recommended Charts. I don't want any of these. I'm going to click on All Charts. And I like a bar chart that goes horizontally instead of vertically for this. So this is selected. You can see the border, green border around it. So that's selected. I'm going to click OK. And now my chart has just popped in. And my chart is calculating everything that's in here. You can see everything is highlighted. I don't like the way this looks, so I'm going to make some modifications. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it out and I'm going to shrink it this way. It's going to fit in this section, but for right now, I'm going to leave it here. So I just want it to show my net worth. So I'm going to click this filter button here and I'm going to unselect assets and I'm going to unselect liabilities. So the only thing that I want it to show is my net worth progress, and I'm going to leave all of the months and I'm going to hit apply. And now all of my net worth is the only thing showing. Now, net worth is written here and it's written here because this was a legend. And now because I only have one thing showing, I don't need both of those to show. So I'm clicking on this net worth here and I'm going to click delete. And I also don't want these numbers because they're going to overlap and the numbers are here. So I don't need them there twice. I just want kind of a visual so that I can see if my net worth is going up or down or what. So I'm going to click on these numbers and I'm going to click delete. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now, I don't really like this green color. So I'm going to, while I've got this clicked and on chart design, I'm going to click on this change color and I'm going to select this blue. So I want it to have sort of that theme, the blue theme that I'm kind of going for. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to be placing this in this section here, but I don't want to have to shrink it down and modify and make all sorts of crazy changes to see the border. I just want to kind of make it sort of fit for the most part. And then I want to get rid of the fill background so that all I see is my border, and the illusion is that this has a border around it. So I'm going to right click on my chart, and I'm going to click down here on Format Chart Area. And I'm going to move this over so you can see what I'm doing. And then here under these options, I don't want to fill because right now it's automatic. I'm going to say no fill. And that also leaves a border around it. And again, I could change the border so that it's the same purple and the same width and try and make those changes. But I don't want to do that because then I have to move these around to match up and it never looks perfect. So I'm going to click no border, no line. And now it looks like there's a border around it and it's perfectly aligned because I've put the border around myself to align with the cells. Okay, so that looks good. A couple more things that I want to change is in this list here, I go from January down to December, but in this chart, I go from December to January. So I want to flip that. So I'm going to click in this section here where it says the dates, and it pops up in this window as well. And under this, the bar access options, down here it says access position. There's this box that says categories in reverse order. So I'm going to check that. And now I'm going from January to December and January to December. And it looks better to me because it looks like it's going from a smaller net worth to a larger net worth. So visually, that makes me feel a little bit happier. When I didn't have it checked, it actually looked to me like it was going down. So I preferred this. And then the last thing that I want is these bars are kind of narrow, and I sort of want them to be a little bit thicker so that they fill out the chart a little bit more. So I'm going to click on any of these. When I click on one, it selects them all. If I click on it again, it just selects one, but I want all of them selected. And then I'm going to click on this option here. And this gap width is set to kind of a high number, which is spreading them out quite a bit. So I'm going to change that to 25. And it's going to make them all a little bit thicker. So I like the way that that looks. I'm going to X out of here. I'm going to scroll over. And that looks really good to me. So this is a visual of this column here. So it's saying that I'm going up in net worth. And it's just like a quick view, a visual view that you're going in the right direction with your net worth. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to add a pie chart here. And the pie chart here is also going to be reflecting the information that's here. And it's going to give me a percentage of what my assets versus my liabilities are in a percentage number of my overall total net worth. So to do that, I again selected this information from January to February. And I'm going to go to Insert. And instead of recommended charts, I'm going to go to this pie chart because I know that there's one here that I want to use. So I'm going to click on this 2D pie chart right here. And right now it is including everything in this box. I don't want everything to be included. So the first thing that I'm going to do is going to filter out all of the different things that I don't want. So I'm going to click this little filter button here. And I'm going to click Select Data because when I do the filter, I can't make that change here because here it's only allowing me to select one or the other. And I actually want both assets and liabilities. So I'm going to click Select Data and I'm going to flip-flop the row and the columns. And I'm going to get rid of net worth. I don't want to see net worth because right now I can see all three, but I don't want a percentage of all three. That'll skew everything. I just want a percentage of my assets and my net worth. So I'm unchecking that and I'm going to uncheck all of the months. I only want the 1 month that I'm in to show. So I'm in September right now. I'm going to click OK. And so now I'm seeing September, the liabilities are in orange and the assets are in blue. I don't want to see it this way. I don't want it to show September. You can leave it in September, but I don't want it to show. So I'm clicking that and I'm deleting it. I'm clicking this and I'm deleting it. And I'm going to actually, while I'm still selected on here, I'm going to go to Quick Layout because I know that there's a quick layout that I can use that's going to give me the percentage exactly as I want it. So it says assets and the percentage and liabilities and the percentage, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to click on September again and I'm deleting it. Okay, so that's exactly how I want it to what I want it to show, but I want to change the colors. Again, I sort of want everything to look kind of nice, and this orange is throwing me off. So while I have this chart selected, I'm going to go into this quick color change, and I'm going to select this blue color, which is what I selected earlier, and that looks good to me. So again, I want this placed here, but I need this background and the outline, the border to go away. So I'm going to right click and go to Format Chart Area. And I don't want the fill, so I want to get rid of all of this. So there's no fill, and that just removed it. And the border, again, don't want a border, so I'm going to say no border. And so that removed that. I'm going to X out of here. And that looks really nice to me, but I'm going to shrink it down because it's kind of big. I'm going to shrink it this way. And I'm going to place it here. And this assets, I just want to move it up a little bit. And that is exactly what I want it to show. So here, this pie chart shows my percentage of my assets, which is 66%, and my liabilities, which is 34% of my overall net worth. So to see these charts in action, let's say we have October. I'm not going to make changes to everything here, but I'm just going to put this in manually. So let's say in October we were at 70,000 for our assets, or 700,000, and for our liabilities we were at 300,000. You can see this is automatically updating. The pie chart needs to be filtered differently. So to have the pie chart reflecting the new month, you're just going to click on the pie chart area and click this filter button and then select the month that you want to reflect and then hit apply. And so that shows the new month. Sometimes the text can move a little bit. I just grab it and move it over a little. So now you can see here easily it's showing 70% of the assets and 30% of the liabilities. And so these will be modified as you go. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something new. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching. Bye.